This story begins at Cannon's Auctions, located in Richmond, Virginia. At Cannon's Auctions, you do have the option to go inside the building and look at the things before you buy them, but for this auction, I just purchased online and found out what I actually bought on pickup day. So this auction purchase cost me a whole $16, including that mirror on top of the dresser. The only catch is you have to load and unload all of your items by yourself, which honestly can be a little bit tricky when I usually am completely by myself. But if you take the drawers out of everything, things become a little bit lighter. Take the mirror off the back and just shove it in the minivan to get it home. So let's look at this little waterfall art deco project a bit closer. The hardware on the top drawer is broken, so I will be replacing that hardware. You can see some minimal chips and cracks along the edges of this piece, but overall it's fairly sturdy. The drawers are wood on wood glides, which means they are a little harder to open and close, and that little finish that you see on the front with the Art Deco pattern is painted on. I always begin every single project by taking off the stickers, obviously, and then cleaning inside and out with White Lightning. After a good clean with White Lightning, I did scuff sand this project for adhesion purposes. Since this little dresser is probably about 100 years old, I think that some Bonding Boss is in order. Bonding Boss is not only a gripping primer for anything slick or shiny, it's also going to prevent any stains, tannins, or bleed through onto your piece. And yes, I'm painting over the hardware that's on this piece because it is going to be 100% hand painted art, and the hardware will be incorporated into that. The thing about Bonding Boss is that there are a few rules that you do need to follow. Since I'm painting inside in my studio and I don't want to sand, you're going to see me use this product a lot. This eliminates any need to really scuff up your surface or worry about your paint sticking. And you do need to wait 24 full hours before you begin to paint on top. So what's the plan for this piece? Well, let's slide all those colors over to my project because I'm going to sit on the floor, open up a ton of colors in paint, and do a hand-painted scene. These waterfall style dressers are perfect for hand painting artwork on because of that nice big flat surface. And since the Bonding Boss is already on there in a nice light gray, it's the perfect surface to get on top and just start painting. My inspo for this project is a sunrise on a marsh. So I will be starting off with the clouds and the blue sky, and I usually start with the front of the project and then paint in the sides and the top after. Since this paint is water-based, it blends so easily. You'll find that painting a sky and clouds is very easy. If you need a tutorial, I have a ton of them here on my YouTube channel. What have I done? Well, this dresser has been updated by cleaning and priming with Bonding Boss. Bonding Boss is the gray that you're seeing here on the bottom. Bonding Boss is my gripping primer for anything slick or shiny, as well as tannins and bleed through. This piece is from approximately 1920, 25, I think, which was on the back of the mirror. And I picked it up for very, very cheap at my local online auction. So this piece was a cheapy find, $16, I believe, at my local online auction, which is fantastic. And when things are very cheap like this, that means I'm going to get wild and wacky with paint and color. So I've primed it with Dixie Bonding Boss in gray to prevent any possible bleed through. We all know that old dressers, old pieces like that sometimes have like weird stinky tannins that bleed through. The inside's not finished. I'm going to definitely have to gild all of these edges in gold and definitely refresh the interior of this piece because it is old. It's also wood on wood glides, so I do have some repair work to do in the top drawer. I think because it sticks out a little further that the wood stoppers that stop the drawer from pushing all the way to the back need to be replaced. So yes, right now this drawer is sticking out like a tiny little bit. Ignore that, pretend it's not happening. And we are going to come in here and start to add the bottom part of this. So I'm just gonna play with my paints, sit on the floor. You guys can join me. I might be chatty, I might not be, depends. It's kind of hard to talk when I do detail work, I'm not gonna lie. But we will work on the bottom part of this dresser, all right? I did put a link in the comments to, well, not in the comments, in the actual description for you to shop if you'd like. Everything I'm using today is from DixieBellePaint.com, and you can find that all here. This is all water-based paint. It's easy to blend. You'll see me using a spray misting bottle filled with water to really get in here and decide what I'm going to do. So I also have on the floor this is actually an egg tray. I picked this up at the Goodwill. It looks a little fancy pants, but it's my mixing tray. So when you see me doing a little bit of work down here, I'm just mixing some paint around. Okay, so the next part of this horizon line is going to be a little bit dark. I'm going to take some Anchor, which is like a black, and I'm going to mix it with a little bit of some Thicket, which is a green. I just want to create like, I need something dark, but not like all the way dark. So we're going to start with that as my line. I do think I probably am going to have to add a little bit darker to it. I just want like a murky kind of a gray. So sunrise, sunset, whatever you want. I think it's a sunrise, to be honest with you, because the sun is like shining up. If it was sunset, I think it would be a different kind of color pattern. But I'm going to work on the bottom part, which is going to be the marsh. So the sun is here. I kind of think I need to just put a little bit of a line of gray to start the line here. If I start my line here for my horizon line, it's going to be on the seam of this dresser, which I don't want to see. So let's take a different brush before I start to mix my darker color for the horizon line and kind of go in with some Stormy Seas, which is like a dark gray, to kind of finish off this line. We're just going to come in with this gray. And I'm going to kind of bring it up a little bit too, because I don't want it to be too straight across. And we're going to start to create a little bit of a line for my horizon. Because like I said, I don't want it to be right on this lip of the dresser. I want it to kind of be down a little bit further. So what you're seeing in the gray is actually just like my cloud line. Right? These are all just darker, moody clouds that are kind of pulling in. So by doing this little line gray, I'm going to be able to build up the next line a little bit thicker. You're going to see me hold my brush at the high end, the back, because I want to be a little bit more loosey-goosey. I don't want it to be, this is art, right? The closer you hold your brush to the tip, the more precise movement you have, if that makes sense. So when you see me holding it far back, I'm just trying to give myself a little bit of loosey-goosey to get ready to make a line that's not as perfect, okay? Okay, better. So I'm just gonna put this one in the water. I have my Santa cup filled with water down here. I'm gonna add a little bit more black Anchor, I think, to my Stormy Seas. And I'm going to create a line. Now this line is going to be, how would I describe this? Trees, maybe? It's just the far off horizon line. We're going to create a marsh down here. So I'm just coming in. This is like way far off in the distance, okay? Like this, I don't want you to think of it as like, it's more like an abstract art piece, to be honest with you, than anything super close up. So now I'm a little bit below that dresser line. So I'm not gonna fuss with worrying that this line itself is gonna be in the way of what I'm painting. I might actually even come up on this one because I don't want it to be too perfect. Okay, so this is going to be like my bush / tree line. I think I'll actually even bring this side up even higher. I don't like it when things are too even, if that makes sense. If things are too perfect, it starts to look strange. Okay, so that's the first line. I think I want to add, the next line is going to be green because it's going to be a marsh. That's better. So I'm going to put this brush in the water and go back to my artisan brush What color green should I use? So on the floor I have Holy Guacamole. This is a very old can of paint. This is like a very vibrant green. It's not Grinch green, it's just a vibrant green. I do like it, and I'm probably gonna start with this, and then I'm gonna move into a yellow, which is Yellowstone. So if this is my horizon line, the next line itself needs to be fairly straight across. I really should probably hit this with the heat gun. Okay, so let's not do that part yet, because if I come in here and start to mess up my line with my wet paint, should I do that? This is why talking and painting sometimes gets a little crazy. We'll try it, we'll try it. So I can come back in and fix up my edge in a minute. I just want this line to be like my marsh line. It needs to be straighter than the other, but not still perfectly straight, because nothing is perfectly straight, but it is my horizon line. Actually not hating the fact that these colors are blending together. Again, holding it loosey-goosey. Too much control is going to make it look fake, and this is art. I like to kind of be blown out, if that makes sense. I don't want it to be perfect. But this bottom part is going to be marsh. And then the ideal plan is to reflect this sunrise in the marsh. I'm a little stuck because the top of this is very pastel-ish color, and the bottom is going to be definitely more dark, but not dark in the fact that it's going to look dark. It's just not going to be as pastel-y, because I feel like we're going to get a little bit into the water now. So I'm going to drag some of this green down a little bit further, and then we're going to start to change this green grass, this green marshland into water. And I'm going to grab a little bit of that yellow from the Yellowstone, and I will be hitting certain sections of this with the yellow to kind of lighten it up a little bit. What's everybody doing for New Year's tonight? Anything fancy and fun and fantastic? Because mine will just probably involve Chinese food and relaxing. That's my style. That's my kind of New Year's. I'm not a going out kind of a girl. I am a stay at home in my pajamas and be comfy kind of a girl. And then I can call all my children and wish them Happy New Year, because none of them are home. Okay, so see how that yellow is kind of making your eye into going, oh, there's like something going on out there. Is it grass? What's the definition? I don't ever want to use one color in its entire being, because one color is going to be too definite. I need it to be a little bit less. So let's just add a little bit of some of that in there. If you have something called a fan brush is really good for this too. A fan brush is going to help you like speckle on your color versus having it be too perfect. I'm going to grab some Thicket, which is like a nice soft green, and start to blend some of these colors out a little bit. Because next up is going to be the marsh, right? And the marsh is going to be water in the middle. So there's going to be like a piece of land here. It's going to come, I think it's going to come like this. Over the handle. I'm keeping the hardware on, obviously. I'm painting over top of it. And then the water will come down like this. How it's going to be on the other side. I think I'm going to put the green over here. And I'm going to go right over top of the feet, because this whole front piece is going to be painted, and then the rest of this piece I think I'm going to just make it the blue clouds, and then the top will have white clouds on it as well. So let's see, we're going to kind of bring that out this way. And then same over here. I need darker green. Maybe I'll just take some chocolate, which is a brown. and plan this section out because this is going to be darker. I also grabbed some truffle. I just want to cover this with paint because this is going to be where like the land part is, and then I can start functioning on the water, a little focus on the water. Okay, so that's land. This is land. This is land down here. And then the rest is going to be water. Okay, what color should I do the water? The water is going to be light. Like, let's work on the water. I'm going to put this brush in here and grab a natural fiber brush. Let's start with Vintage Duck Egg. We're going to come in and just kind of lay out our water plan. It's going to come in over here and then all the way over, I think. I think this is all going to be water. So once I kind of lay out my color plan, it's easier to plan over top. Same with this. That's going to be water. That's going to be water. And all down here is going to be water as well. So, Vintage Duck Egg. A lot of this is just sitting on the floor and playing, which is why I'm doing it now on the holiday, because it's just fun to sit around and figure it out. Can you start to see it come together? Should I aim you down a little further? You can aim down so you can see what's happening. There we go. So I'm just going to throw this duck egg anywhere where there's going to be water, because the rest of it's going to be land. Actually, I think I'll bring all that right hand side out for water, or for land, and this will be water. And then down here as well will be water. And yes, I'm painting with the drawers in, because if I paint with the drawers out, what's going to happen is I'm going to lose the continuity of the piece. This piece has really cool feet too, doesn't it? Neat. Neat, neat, neat. Okay, so now I've kind of like laid out my scape for the water. I think I'm gonna have to bring that brown and green up a little bit more. I think it's gonna come all the way up like this. This part will be painted in as grass. And then I might even have to bring it out a little bit more and kind of off center it. I think I'm gonna bring this up even more. Let's pretend that all of this is going to be grass too. So when I'm looking at the water, I'm going to bring it out like this. This is going to come out like this. That's going to be land. And then it's going to go, I think I might even have to bring this over more, right? I feel like it just needs to have more like direction, like that. So that's where the water is going to be. So on top of the water, there's obviously going to be shadow reflection of all of this that I've done up here on the piece. Let's start to add, get the water straight. Once the water is on, it's going to be easier for me to build up the sides. So let's add a little bit of some different blues in here. I've got Stormy Seas. And I've got Mason-Dixon Gray. And I think some of this will actually have some purple as well. I want this water to be kind of all a mixed match. You can tell that I'm not changing my brush because I need to really mix this color in. I should have on the floor a brighter blue. I need like I need more of a navy blue, but for now we'll start to build up our layers with Stormy Seas. And then I'm going to come in with my white and we're going to start to smoke it out a little bit. It always looks like a hot mess express before it looks like anything good. Hello, Happy New Year. Thank you for watching. I didn't even know if I would actually come on live today, being the holiday and all, but you never know. Okay, I need a brush that's going to give me some space for this white. Okay, so we know where the water layout is going to be. We're going to put a lot of grass, a lot of green coming up over here, green over here. I've got my horizon line set. I plan on taking white and actually a ruler and putting out almost like sun rays, sunlight. But let's mix up some like a little bit of white into this water. Start to get some definition. This is fluff. And anybody honestly can do this. Sometimes I get people saying like, oh my gosh, I could never hand paint. Yes, you can. All I'm doing is like kind of squinting my eyes a little bit and making things look a little bit less definite. Thank you. I'm glad you like it. I really like this part. I tend to fall in love with like a section, but I'm not done. There's going to be more white clouds at the top. It's just a work in progress, y'all. Work in progress. Nothing is locked in stone at this point. I'm just building up some really pretty layers in my little ocean here. I do have some tide pool, which is more green. Let's mix some of that in. Again, same brush, just to kind of see what happens if we start to make this water lighten up a little bit. I like that actually. I like that tide pool mixed in there. It's just giving it a little bit more. And I know, I even get people coming in and saying to me, why are you painting that on furniture? You should do that on canvas. Don't do that on furniture. I'm like, there's no rules in painting. Who told you there's rules in painting? I'm here to tell you there are no rules in painting. You should be painting whatever you like, wherever you like, whenever you like. Don't let people box you in and try and say that in their rules, you shouldn't be painting art on furniture. That's the silliest thing I've ever heard. You paint what makes your heart happy, and you will always be a happy artist because you're painting what brings you joy versus what everybody else says you should be doing, because that's crazy. Okay, so I'm liking the way that this water looks. I do feel like I need to add some sections that are a little rougher, not so defined. Now, remember how light this is at the top. This line right here, I possibly could come in on this profile line, this little, what do you call this? What's the word I'm looking for? Like a viewpoint of this horizon. There it is. I've eaten a lot of cookies over the holiday. I think it's sucking my brain out. This horizon line probably will get lighter as I come in and add a little bit more grass to the piece. But for now, I think that is nice. That is okay. Let's add a little bit more blue over here. Okay, now I'm going to put this aside and not forget to wash this, because I realized today I forgot to wash a bunch of brushes I had sitting over here, which is super annoying. Nobody likes to do that kind of work and wash brushes. Let's get a smaller brush. I'm going to go back to one of these brushes, which is kind of like an artisan brush, but wider, thicker. Okay, and now I'm going to open up my lemonade, which is yellow. Let's work a little bit on some reflections of the water. It's going to be the brightest in the middle, okay? And we have to think about where the sunlight is. And it's going to come right about here. We're going to start to go back and forth. It's going to be brightest in the middle, and we're going to hit a spot where it's going to spread itself out a little bit. And there's going to be, for sure, a line I'm going to have to use probably white for as the reflection in the water. Should I use a little bit of that yellow? Got that silk paint in Yellowstone on the floor, but it's a little bit too dark. I think I'll put some tiny bits in. So whatever's going on above is going to happen below. It's already looking better. How cute is that? Can you see that little sunlight reflection? Cute, cute, cute. This has to get more dry before I do kind of like definite sun reflections, and there's going to be grass coming up here first. So I think what I'll do is kind of get these little reflections where they're going to live, and then the grass, and then I'm going to use a very small brush to add in the white, because I will have to take this white and probably mix it up with a little bit more of a yellow. But that's going to be like the light. It's going to spread out right in the middle. But all this is going to have to get dry, see, because I can't keep that white definite until it's dry and I'm painting on top of it. You see that cute little reflection? So pretty, right? So pretty. I do think too that there's going to have to be a little bit of, it's like a line of like where the edge of the water is. Same with over here. Okay, let's work on a little bit of grass. What color do I want this grass to be? I did bring over evergreen, which might be too much green. I don't want the grass to look too fake, but I do want there to be grass. What would be great of this if I had a natural fiber brush over here that was flat. See this one? It's a little bit, this is the French tip. I do have, maybe I can reach my Big Daddy. This is more of a flat that I'm gonna go for. This is the Big Daddy brush, natural fiber, really wide. Let's put some of this green, evergreen on my plate. And then we're gonna try and push this all the way across. All right, we're gonna take this green. It's too, I think that's gonna be too green. And there's one small little piece sticking out. Let's see what happens. Is that too green for the piece? Or does that bother you? Should I be mixing in a little bit of thicket with that? I think I might have to mix in some darker tone with that. I'll just put it on the edge or put it on the side. So we're going to start to build up some grass. That color bugs me. I feel like it's too green for this. Is it not? It looks fake. Like, not like this doesn't look fake. I mean, a little bit fake. It should probably be more, maybe mix some yellow in there too. So what I'm doing is just putting this across my palette, and it's just dabbing the brush into the colors. And then this will all be green as well. I will get my fan brush for the detailed piece because I'm probably gonna have to sit on the floor really low and start to work it up. Now you're getting a better idea of how this is gonna be laid out with my color pattern. The water's gonna come this way. I'm gonna have to get my chip brush that's I have one chip brush that's really being beaten up, and the bristles are very, very kind of messy, but that helps me when it comes to getting a realistic piece of grass, if that makes sense. What do we like? What do we think about this layout? Is there something here that you would change? I should pull you back so you can see the entire piece. How are we feeling about this piece? Love it? It's kind of fun, right? Why shouldn't your furniture be fun and functional art? I've never used this brush before. I'm gonna have to really play with it and see how it goes. But I do like it for kind of laying out my pattern. Perfect. Let's take a natural fiber French tip and see what kind of grass we can get. See how I'm starting to build up those layers? There's gonna have to be some brown in here too. And I'm gonna have to find a really nice neutral that's probably pulling in a little bit more of this yellow. All right, let's work on the rest of this dresser. The sides and the top are just going to be simple clouds. I'm going to paint on different colors of blue, paint in some clouds. Eventually, on the end of this project, I did add in some tiny stars and little paint flicks. Adding in grass, a little bit of edges, and a little definition around the water. Honestly, this is just playing with paint. Sit down, have fun, and do what you love to do. I did end up using gilding wax on the lips and sides of the drawers themselves. I did a little bit of distressing on the edges of some of the dresser's drawers because I know they're going to rub together since it's wood on wood glides. And then of course I sealed the entire project in Dixie Belle's clear wax. Thank you for watching my video today and hanging out with me at the Top Drawer RVA. I post a long format video every weekend and I try and put a short up every single day. If you see something you love, I guarantee I have a video for it. Just send me a DM and I'll point you in the right direction.